I have a business idea, but I don't know how to get started. No worries. I'll show you how to write a business plan. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Erkka Suvanto. Some of you call me EJ. I'm still the guy on social media who wants to build a legacy for his kids and pass on all these life and business lessons that I have collected to each and every one of you. I'm a real estate investor and an entrepreneur. As I mentioned in my intro, let's dig deeper into business plans today. When we start a business, we can do it from three different perspectives, because starting a company is all about solving a problem. Number one, I can solve my own problems. Number two, I can solve a problem for somebody else. Or number three, I can look at the market from an objective perspective, analyze the numbers, and start a business based on that. I prefer one and two. And today, in this video, I want to take this conversation to a more concrete level, show you guys how I put together a business plan whenever I help somebody else analyze my own projects or anything related to starting a new business. Approximately 6 months ago, I looked at starting a massage business here in Finland. Why? I've personally been a client for 25 years, and I can recognize good service. I train hard, and I often have pains and aches all over my body, and I want to get rid of those as fast as possible with somebody who knows what he or she is doing. And I've used massage services in the United States, here in Finland, in Germany, in other countries when I have traveled. And I believe I have a very good understanding as far as what customers expect from a massage therapist, especially when it comes to people who are active and train hard. That was my starting point. There are actually 7 different sections that I want to personally dig deeper into, and a bonus section as well that we will cover in the end. But it all starts with me in understanding the market. So I'm a big picture person. I want to understand how large the pool is, even though I have said many times that the riches are in the niches, which is true, but still I want to understand what my playing field looks like. And in this particular case, if we look at number one, market, I used all the available data that I had, and unfortunately there were no recent market studies made regarding Finland, but I had the United States numbers. No problem, okay? They are not necessarily directly apples to apples, but the countries are relatively similar as far as purchasing power goes and active people using these services. So I felt comfortable using the US data as a benchmark. Okay, let's look at it. So I have a little cheat sheet there on the side in case you wonder why I glance at it every now and then, because there are a lot of numbers to remember. So the 2023 estimated market size in the US for the whole massage business is 19 billion. Okay? So the B should be on the other side, of course. 19 billion. And there are 369,000 employees involved in that business. And that means that the average revenue per employee annually is 51,000. These are US dollars. Okay? And there is a staggering number of businesses, meaning 241,000 to be exact. This is the number of businesses. Most of them are sole practitioners, so very small companies, so a typical specialist industry. And the average revenue per company, per business, is 79,000. So this is the annual revenue. Okay, and if we look at the per capita number, I also wanted to take a look at this. So at that point when I looked at it, so the US population was roughly 333 million people. So the revenue per capita, so per one person in the United States, was 57. Okay, why are all these important? They are not necessarily important, but I want to get as many data points as possible just to draw my conclusions, especially in this case, since we are talking about applying these to different countries. So since the idea was not to start this in the US, but in Finland, so what would the market look like over there? So if we take the population of Finland, which is 5.5 million people, yes, it's a small country, and you take the average revenue per capita per one person of 57, so you get roughly 313 million being the market size. And we can arrive at that same number from another perspective as well. So knowing that there would be then, using the same benchmark data, 393,980 individual businesses times the 79K, all data that we pulled from here, that would give us the 314. Just to double check and arrive at the same conclusion from a little different perspective. So that's our market size. Obviously a lot smaller than the 19 billion, but still large enough to carve a nice opportunity, a nice profitable niche for us. Okay, so this is number one. So understanding the market, what are the characteristics as far as the numbers go? And now we know our playing field. Okay, move on to the next topic, which is the general observations. This is just this is how I usually operate. So observations about the data and by just looking at the market overall. So this is pretty obvious, but if you think about the massage business, so there's obviously education, training involved, but overall the barrier to enter that market is very low. What does it mean? So there is no technology requirements. There are no physical space requirements really. So you can have a relatively tiny office or business space where you can get started. So all you need to worry about is invest in your equipment, have a phone, have a laptop, and your personal education, your expertise, which is the number one. So low barrier to enter, low barrier of entry. And also, as we saw here, the number of businesses both in Finland and the US. So it's a fragmented market. Okay. So no large players dominating this space, individual businesses. And then a couple of interesting data points that came up during the data dump study in the beginning regarding the US was that 89% of the clients found their therapist through referrals. So a referral from a business perspective is good news. So a high percentage means that people rely on word of mouth. So I go and recommend somebody to my friend, he or she goes and sees the same person. So the marketing cost for the business stays low. And as we had talked about in the past, if every customer we have brings 1.1 people, we never have to market again because the word of mouth takes care of that. But this obviously assumes that we are good enough in our field. Quality of service is the number one requirement. But 89%, which is a very, very high number. And then another data point, which kind of came up here, was that 78% of the market was sole practitioners. So very, very small businesses. Okay. And since it's fragmented, it was also evident to me that there's a brand opportunity. There's an opportunity for a branded player. So how can we establish a brand that's trustworthy in the eyes of the prospect and start building that? Because in a very fragmented market, there's obviously a reason for that. That was the low barrier to enter, but then that also presents an opportunity for business people. One of the bottlenecks or issues with any service business is its scalability, meaning it's hard to grow. What does that mean? It means that if you have any expertise-driven service business, whether it's a law firm, a business consultant, or wealth advisory, or massage in this case, it's based on the quality of the people. It's about finding the right talent, the A-level talent, because you can't grow if you don't have the people, because there is no product that you can duplicate, you can copy easily, like in the software business. Here, it's all about expertise. But hire, train, and retain is the key here, also in this lower value massage business. So how do we get the people who can provide excellent service so that we can then get the name for ourselves and get those referrals that we just mentioned here? 89% is a very high number. Okay, so that was number three. I'm sorry, number two. So quickly about three, I look at competition always. So this to me, 1, 2, and 3, market, the general observations and competition is the so-called starting point before we go into the product itself and the customer. Because like we mentioned in the beginning, it's all about solving customers' problems. We can't just be boiling the ocean all the time and look at what other people do and what the market looks like. At some point, we need to start being more concrete and identifying the customer and what the value and the offer is that we provide. But before that, so in this particular case, fragmented market, but I was able to find one branded player, and that player or company had roughly 10 million as their annual revenue, and they had 80 locations, but only 5 full-time people. That means, what does this mean? Based on my understanding, it's either a franchise model or all of these massage therapists that they have per location are individual contractors, meaning they invoice the mother company, the corporation. Either or. I'm guessing the latter, meaning that they are individual contractors. Okay, so their revenue per location was roughly in the 120K range. These are rounded numbers, but roughly that. And then an interesting data point was that they were acquired by a large company, a private medical services provider here in Finland. There's plenty of consolidation going on in the private medical service business, and this would be something that could potentially be the exit for the business. And then number 4 is who. Who the customer is a very important topic. And we have talked about in the past, in my previous videos, how riches are in the niches, meaning that instead of looking at the market, if this is the total market, instead of trying to boil the ocean and have an offering that is kind of one size fits all, more for less type of an approach, where we take the average price, offer a little more, charge a little less. That would be the approach we don't want to do here. Instead of doing that, we would try to carve ourselves a very narrow niche in the beginning, and then focusing on putting together our offer, our marketing, all of our operations around that niche and that market segment, so that our prospects would see our company as the go-to company in that space. When they see that we offer something that is clearly related to their particular problem, their ache or their pain, plus in their area, we basically become the dominant player, a category of one company in that space. Nobody else looks to be a better fit for our prospect than us. That's the idea. And then ultimately what that means too is that we can charge higher prices because we don't have to deal with everybody else here in the mushy middle. Okay, so in this particular case, the market definition or the niche was that it would be active people, athletes who train hard and understand the value of a good massage service. Not necessarily talking about these spa type of treatments where the focus is more on the relaxation. This would be more active people identifying the pain and fixing the pain as quickly as possible. What we want to be asking ourselves, and that's why we did the 1, 2, and 3 to understand the market, is a couple of questions. Is the market growing? Is the market growing up? What about the demand? Is it fluctuating a lot? Is it up, down? And then can people afford? In this case, market is pretty stable. Corona times 21, 22 were hard for everybody because of physical interaction, face-to-face interaction. But then the demand seems to be stable and the affordability is there. We're not talking about hundreds of dollars or euros per session. So these are the ones that we can check, these requirements. Then moving from 4 to 5, and the next question is, what is it that we are offering? So when I looked at the market overall, and based on what I know, I value simplicity over anything. We oftentimes as people, we gravitate towards complex solutions because that's how our brain seems to work. We think that it's not adding enough value if it's not complex. But I try to simplify everything. How can I explain this to a 10-year-old or a 5th grader as far as what my marketing and my promotional language says, and can I identify the needs of the customer in such way that I can put together my offer in a very simplistic way. So here, what is that we are going to offer? So when I looked at the market, I saw that there were a bunch of complex definitions for massage. There was foot massage, there was classic massage, sports massage, facial relaxation massage, hot stone massage, all kinds of different funky names that didn't really make sense to me. So looking at our market segment, the niche, I felt that it would make a lot of sense to simplify it. So I thought we would do a so-called 30, 60, 90 model where we only sell 3 time slots, half an hour, 1 hour, an hour and a half, and they all have a fixed price. And there's no price difference between the massage therapist, whereas the competition seemed to have all kinds of pricing. So you would have maybe 7 or 8 different massage products, first and foremost, and then different timing, and there were like 15-minute intervals or gaps. So the complexity, if you put together a matrix, type of massage therapist, there were 3 different expertise levels. Somebody who's a trainee, somebody who's average with his or her skills, and then an expert. Why would anybody go to see anybody else but an expert to get the best possible service? So here the idea was to simplify. What? So it has to be simple. Quality of service. We only hire people who have the required skill set. We train them if they don't have it. We keep them no matter what. We retain these people. We have a bonus program or an ownership program in place. And we only have 3 products. That's how we keep it simple. And then an important part of what is the value definition. Okay, this is from Alex Hormozy, and I absolutely love it. And I use it nowadays in all of my own projects. He took this from somebody else, but it doesn't matter. But I follow Alex, so I absolutely love his formulas. So the way he defines value is this. So what's the dream outcome? Dream outcome, what's the goal that the customer has, times the likelihood of achievement. How likely is it that me as a customer, I get what they advertise, and then how long it's going to take, and then what's the effort required on my side. Okay, so if we plug our service into this value equation, we basically get dream outcome, identify my pain points, where my aches and pains are in one session, and get it fixed with the best, industry best massage therapists and experts in one session without any hassle. Okay, how do we put together the bottom part? So without any hassle. So how is it as easy as possible for the prospect? So that's where our detailed offer comes into play, and that's one of the bonus points I'm going to cover later. But using this, identifying how to keep it simple, and understanding where the value comes from. Many businesses focus only on the bottom part. There's nothing wrong by just doing what everybody else does, but doing it half the time. That's how FedEx got started. What is it that the USPS, United States Postal Service, does? We do the exact same thing, but twice as fast. People are always willing to pay for time and convenience. Speed is a huge value proposition in any market. Okay, so this was what? And then going to number 6, which is how. And these are the key operational questions. Obviously, a real business plan has much more text than this, but these are the highlights that you can get started with. Okay, so how do we do it? These are the key operational questions that we want to focus on. Some of these we covered already. So simplicity. So that was the 30, 60, 90 model. Quality of service. We have to make sure that we have the best therapists in the industry. We don't expand. We don't open new locations before we have achieved that goal in one location. We wait until we find the people, and then we train them and we retain them. Quality of service. So then something regarding time and effort. We want to invest in an application, simple tech, something that is readily available in the marketplace. All reservations would need to be handled through the application just to make the transaction as smooth as possible. And then one operational big point is the social media presence. We haven't talked about marketing yet, but no other company is investing heavily in this. That would be, from the marketing perspective, the number one priority. So simplicity, quality of service, application, it's fast and easy to use, make payments, reserve time slots, answer questions, having frequently asked questions available on the app, and then heavy social media presence from the get-go. 7th, no business can operate without numbers, financials. Minimum 2 full-time employees per location, and each able to invoice 60K. So that would mean 120K minimum revenue. This should be safe based on the service model and being able to charge higher prices than everybody else, because again, we have the best product for the narrowest niche in the beginning. So people identify us as the dream provider, and therefore our pricing can be slightly higher than the marketplace. So 120K, of which idea would be to use a individual contractor model. So all of these employees would be having their own quote unquote companies, kind of like LLCs, and then they would invoice our mother company. So that cost would be roughly 45K per. So that's 90K minus 90K minus the fixed cost per location, so 15. So this gives us a net profit, a safe assumption of 15K. A little over 10% if the revenue coming in is 120. Doesn't sound like a big number, but obviously the idea is to scale. If we remember from competition, which is not here anymore, but they had the company that had 10 million revenue annually, they had 80 locations. So if you start multiplying that by tens, that's where the real money starts to come into play. But of course, everybody starts small, and then you grow when you're ready to grow. Not before that. When we are good enough per location, we have the right people, we have the right processes, then we can scale. Biggest fish in the smallest pond, then moving on to the larger lake and ocean. That's the idea. That was the numbers. And then the bonus point, which requires a little extra space. This is about the offer. Understanding what's the value. Now we kind of took a little bit of a shortcut here in putting the offer together. But what I didn't show, and this is the bonus section, is the value chain. What I call the value chain analysis plus the offer itself. And what I do here, this is the same process I follow regardless of the business, whether it's my own real estate company or any other project that I'm involved in. but I like to look at it as a value chain. This is in chronological order, okay? And this is how I put together the offer. So in this massage business case, so this is how I look at it. So I divide it into 3. So we have here before, can't type, before, during, and after. Sounds simple, right? Okay. And here the idea is that I put myself in the shoes of the customer. So again, remember, I've used massage services for 25 years. So I can picture myself doing this pretty well. So I identify every single interface that there is before seeing the massage therapist. This would be, for instance, making the appointment, booking, okay, using the app, application. What if I need to know about pricing? How can I find parking there? So the idea is that we identify every single potential problem. This is a 3-step approach. So the first step is to understand the interfaces. Okay. The next step is to understand all the problems the customer might find during the visit. And then the third is identifying all the solutions. Oops. Okay, so here, using parking, an example would be, okay, how do I find parking? So again, I put myself in the customer's shoes. It's always difficult to find parking. It's a hassle for me. So I turn it such that I'm the customer and I look at every possible interface, transaction, interaction with the company as a problem. So this is where I use my own brain to look at everything through a negative lens. So parking is always a problem. Okay? So then the solution here would be that potentially that we don't open business locations anywhere else but in areas where there's plenty of street parking and parking in the back or in the front of the business, for instance. So parking becomes a priority. Same here, appointment. How do I make, it's always hassle. I can never get a hold of anybody. Okay, maybe the reason for that is that businesses typically, the sole practitioners, they are the ones answering phones. So we would channel all traffic to the website, to the application, where real-time data is available for the clients. So they can see which time slot, how much it costs, and which therapist is free. So no need to call. We reduce the number of phone calls coming in. And if there are phone calls, which there will always be, there's somebody else picking them up and not the massage therapist. So we don't want he or she to interrupt the service with the person who's there. That's always number one priority. The person who's being serviced, who's being given the service to. We want to make sure that that person leaves with the 5-star review in his or her mind. That's how we look at it. So we identify all the interfaces, we turn all of these interfaces or interactions into problems, and then we find the solutions. And then there's actually a 4th step as well. Let's use blue color, which would be to basically prioritize. Okay, and then this becomes offer. We can't boil the ocean. We can't do everything that we identified here under 3, under solutions. Then we have to prioritize. And then the ones that are of the highest priority become part of the offer. So that's how we go through before, during, and after. We put ourselves in the customer's shoes. First problems, then solutions, and then we prioritize. And then the end result, the outcome is the offer that we offer the customer, which in this case was the 30, 60, 90-minute service that was basically geared towards athletes and active people. This was the idea today, to look at a business plan, starting any particular business, how I view it. There are many ways how you can do it. This is my approach. These 7 plus the bonus should give you a good head start plenty of things to think about and a lot of data to sort through. Hope this was helpful. Again, if you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel, like it, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.